This is video 3 of Color Lab 1, and in this exercise we are going to be exploring analogous colors. Analogous colors are colors that touch on the color wheel. And I would go further than that, that anything that spans those colors is analogous to the colors I'm mentioning here. For example, red, orange, yellow are considered analogous colors. But what happens as we transition from red to orange is we get that red-orange and then go to a yellow-orange after pure orange. So anything goes with using any of the range of colors that are available, including the two reds that I have, orange and yellow, and there are a couple of other yellows here. And I'm going to place colors randomly in each bar of this grid rather than in any order. So I'm going to start with the yellow. It can be pure hue, it can be a tint, it can even be a shade, but let's stick with tints and pure hues for this exercise. I'm going to put a yellow in here. I'm going to put an orange here and color it a little bit with yellow. Can even go over the lines and blend them that way, which is kind of an easier way to fill in the blanks. I'm going to put another orange. And I'm going to add a little pink, which is a tint of red, and just make this a pinkish orange. They're all still analogous. And once again, you can build these grids into your sketchbook if you like, or you can complete them, and when you're satisfied, you can glue them into your sketchbook, because they will come in very handy as you learn more about color. If you want to lighten a color up, add a lighter color on top. This is called layering, and usually the last layer you lay on is more evident, the ones below it. So I just gave that last one a yellow tinge. And you could print out a second one of these and fill it with fabric or with paper and see if that works for you. Create a color scheme, an analogous color scheme, almost like a design board. So print these out as many times as you need so that you get as much information put down for your notes as you require. I know I've had a lot of light yellows, but I still find this yellow a little bit dark to be next to the red. So I'm going to get my white pencil and see if I can go over this a little and blend it a bit better. I'm going to take that same red and put it here in a lighter layer. I'm actually going to put the other red on top of it, and you can see as I'm working in this grid, I am a little bit more spontaneous and intuitive about addressing what will come next. I am not really following any strict rules for filling this in, except that those three colors are in it. And then just polish it up. See if you like what you've got. Do a little more orange over here. I'm going to actually do a red orange out of this one because I have a nice solid orange there, and I'm going to add a little red to this one. So it'll be this one. Okay, same thing's going to happen with the blue, green, yellow. So I would take my pencils, and in this case I have some darker yellows, and you might see how that changes the overall palette by adding some shades into the grouping. But we want to get as many blue, green, and yellow pencils as are in our pencil set. So, and maybe even white. So I would begin pretty much anywhere. And I like the way blue and blue-green look next to one another, so I'm going to put those together. That's the other thing you'll find. There are things about how you see color and what you like about color that should come into play as you make decisions in this exercise. So I am just going to blend these two colors together. And then I'm going to do a nice yellow-green on this side. Okay, I can make it a yellow or green by adding some yellow. Really grassy green. And then what I thought I would do is bring in this gold, raw sienna it's called, color, as a kind of a counterpoint shade to this analogous family. And you'll see that that works very well too. You don't need to have only tints and shades in your group. I might even go a little darker just to really create the contrast and the effect that I'm looking for by adding some of a darker brown, brown ochre this is called. Every pencil company is going to name the colors differently, so don't get locked into what they are called necessarily, but use your eyes to decide which is the right one. Okay, now how about a deep green over here? And this is not the deepest green, this is called jade green, but it's really it's a blue greenish color. So I am going to add some of the regular blue to that so that it creates a bit more darkness. Because in this band of colors I'm trying to create a little bit more contrast by bringing in the shades. Alright, so this needs a little more filled in. I'm doing this full row across because I'm noticing that as I'm talking I'm seeing things and coming up with things that I might not have thought to tell you before. But doing the exercises thoroughly really matters, and what I would suggest as another way to use your sketchbook is to mark down notes, thoughts that you have in your sketchbook as you work along so that you can go back to it. Now I'm going to go with a true yellow. You'll find that as the pencils get duller, they are a little easier to fill in spaces, but you may not be as accurate in the corners or the edges. I'm going to add a little yellow to this too. You can see the colors blending. Let's see. Here's that grassy green again. This time I think I will blend it with some blue to get a different tone. And what this also reminds me is that there is an endless number of colors based on how you mix the different combinations. It just goes on and on. And I'm going to go back to the case for my colored pencils and find a darker green, like mineral green. This is a shade of pure green. What's next? How did I do this? I'm just thinking on my feet, picking up colors as I see them, trying to make new ones to make this more interesting. And again, you're making a pretty cohesive color scheme no matter what shade of blue, green, or yellow you're using in this row. So I'm going to use this sienna again. And later on in the workshop, we are going to be talking about mood. And because of the colors I'm using and the way this is coming together, I'm starting to see a mood, and we will talk about that and get more specific later on. And then, oh, I like that. That's like a pine green almost. Okay, maybe I'll make it a little yellower even. And then, let's see, what am I missing? I think I'm going to go with another green because it's looking like green is dominant in this row. I've used yellow a couple of times, blue, blue-green 3 times, but it looks like a lot of these are green, and it's going to have a green tonality when we're all said and done. And that's another word I use quite a bit, and we will discuss tonality in a different exercise. So I've gone ahead and completed the 3rd row in this grid, the red, violet, blue row. So to extend this further, I would like to show you a trick I would use to become familiar with the remaining analogous color schemes on the color wheel. So I've taken a blank piece of paper and I've put it up against the edges of 3 of the color wheel slices. And I've made a mark on both sides. I'm going to take my ruler at that angle I've drawn and draw a line in one direction. Go to the other mark, draw a line in that direction. And I'm going to cut out that triangle, and this will give me roughly 1/4 of the color wheel that I can look at any one time and not include any of the colors that do not work analogously together. So in this case, yellow, yellow, orange, orange. I can turn the color wheel and try red, orange, red, red, violet, red, red, violet, violet, and so on around the whole color wheel. So I've completed 3 of the 6 grids. There are 12 combinations on the color wheel, and you can print a second one if you would like to have a sample of each, but it will make it a lot easier if you cut out one of these templates and use it as you work around the color wheel.